Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As one of the last speakers, I want to end by explaining why, for thousands of surveyors like me, the review that Dame Judith did is so very important and why we want the right decisions on its implementation. I don't ever expect to get to speak to you all again, particularly in such a grand setting, so please forgive me because I'm going to speak from the heart. And I might get a bit emotional, but anyway, I'll try not to. So I want to start with two illustrations. The first was a request for tender for building control that a colleague received a couple of months ago, just a few miles west of here. The scheme had 3 large blocks, well over 10 stories. Each block combined homes, commercial, retail and community spaces. And by any measure, it was a complex scheme with heightened fire risk. In the region of about £60 million construction costs. Curiously, the client specified 10 inspections. So my colleague phoned him. What do you mean by 10 inspections, he asked. Is that every week, every day? And his reply was, no, that's for the whole job. They were literally intending to pay just a few £1,000s in building regulation fees for a £60 million scheme. I'm proud to say that my colleague told them to go away, or words to that effect. The second example is a little more mundane, but just as insightful. Last year, we surveyed our public service building control colleagues on enforcement. One frequently quoted reason for not prosecuting developers and contractors was because fines issued by the court are much less than the profit that they make. Just to make it worse, usually only the court costs are applied, not the thousands of pounds it costs to bring the court to court. This means the offenders leave the magistrate court smiling. They keep a profit and can easily start again under a different name. But even worse than that, we know that they'll avoid using local authority building control ever again. They'll turn to the private sector. We'll never see their work again in local authority because we can prosecute them. Most of you here have given years to public service. I share your motivations to make a difference and to protect the public. That's why I went into local authority building control. It was a conscious decision. I knew I'd earn less. I knew I'd be called out in the middle of the night to advise firefighters and the police on structural safety. It was my decision to say a building was safe to enter for the fire service. I'd make an on-the-spot decision without backup on how to make a building safe or whether to demolish a dangerous structure. Did I get interviewed on the telly? No, and I didn't care. I had pride in my work and I was proud of myself, and that was the deal. So what changed? We had 3 decades of deregulation, competition, the red tape challenge, light touch regulation and self-certification. That's what happened. Now any company or person that wants to make a fast buck can choose who regulates them. If they don't like how I propose to check the safety of their buildings, they can shop around until they find the least intervention at the lowest price. That's a fact. Those 3 towers in West London that I mentioned are now receiving private building control, I assume on the client's terms. Shocking, isn't it? This can happen in hospitals, it can happen on new housing estates, and it can happen in loft conversions and kitchen extensions. In my opinion, the only thing that prevented a complete collapse of the system over the past 3 decades was the continuing influence of old school professionals who stood by their own ethical standards. I'm not arguing against innovation, good value and efficiencies. My current job's all about progressive change. But we need a modern system, but not one where people's whose ethics are lower than yours and mine, where people can choose how much regulation they're willing to pay for and who'll find someone to provide it. It's not a good system, it's a low-cost compliance system, and that means less compliance. So we absolutely need Dame Judith's systemic review, all of it, 100% of it. And it must be the starting point, not the finish. and we need to start now, not wait again until we're told. So I'm supporting the Hackett review, provided all the recommendations are implementing, and I'm asking you to support me. Thank you.